Okay, I'd like to bring this meeting to order at 7 o'clock with a roll call vote. Dan Golden.
Here.
Gwen Dion.
Here.
Jeanette Stewart here. Would you please stand for the pledge of allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Approval of the February 21st minutes.
I got nothing else good to me.
Danny?
No.
I'll make a motion to approve February 21st minutes. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Old business. Is Linda here?
Yes, Linda's just outside. She's
Patient.
Yep, she's here. And she's on.
The tax anticipation.
Oh, okay. Well, we received 2 bids back. One of the banks that we contacted did not submit a bid. So we have 2, one from Meredith Village and one from Northway. So we'll open them and we'll find out what their pleasure is. It's secure. Go ahead. Okay, Northway Bank came back we asked for $300,000 in case everyone doesn't know that. They came back with a rate of 1.09, payable on the 31st of December. And Meredith Village didn't seal theirs. They came back with a rate of 1.98.
Yeah. I'll make a motion that we take out the tax anticipation note with Northway Bank at 1.09%. Is that a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. Health, workers' compensation, and property and liability insurance, Paul?
I wrote to the board, Madam Chairman, on March the 2nd, and I tried to keep the exhibits as simple as possible. So what you have in front of you there is a comparison of all of the health insurance premiums that we received even from the broker market, and also the workers' compensation alternatives with Primex, and the property and liability coverages also with Primex. To help you on your decision-making process, I included in my memo some points of interest that will help you. If I may read those out, please. The town paid out $181,103.25 in health insurance premiums to LGC in 2011. The union employees have agreed to move from the LGC MTB plan, number 5, to the non-union MTB 15 plan, which is a milestone in itself, and hopefully this will be ratified at the election on March 13th. This is a savings to the town of $10,834 annually. Also effective April the 1st, 2012, the non-union employees will be contributing 5% towards their health insurance costs. This is a savings to the town of $6,376 for the first year, because in the second year the rate will be 7.5%. The difference in the health insurance premiums by leaving LGC for school care is minimal. The town would save $3.58 on a single, $7.76 on a two-person, and $10.57 on a family plan per month, which would give the town an annual savings of only $1,084.56. The town's biggest savings comes from placing our workers' comp and property and liability insurances with Primex, where the savings would be $14,369.
I think the best thing to do is to stay with LGC, especially where if we went with school care, it looks like the union doesn't want to change. It looks like they want to stay with LGC, so that means we would have two carriers. So how does everyone else feel?
You're talking about staying with LGC just for the health care,
The health insurance?
just for the health insurance.
Right.
But move the property liability and workman's comp to Primex.
Right.
Yep.
And I'll say, Madam Chairman, in the memo that I gave you, there was a class participation
Yes.
which LGC did for us going back to 2006. This can be duplicated by the folks at Primex, and we will hear from Rick Alpers, who, if you agree to do this, I've recommended that he come before the board for the final meeting at the work session on March the 12th.
Okay. Dan?
Well, I recommend that we stay with the LGC on health and then let's go with Primex, saving some buffalo.
Workers' comp and liability and all that, right?
Yeah.
Do we need to do one to a vote? Okay, I'll make a motion to stay with LGC for the health insurance. Is there a second? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Motion carries. I'll make a motion to move to Primex for workman's compensation and the liability insurance. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Did you get that, Patrick? Paul, do you have anything
Yes,
else under old business?
a late notice under C, under old business, is the fire station roof. Linda Perry from the engineering firm was delayed because of the snow problems, and also she had some construction issues with the trusses and had to work out in her modelling. But the report is in. She emailed it this afternoon. And what I thought I would do is, I think I'm going to put it in your mail folders, and you've got to digest it this week if you would please, and then let's look at it at the work session on Monday. It's quite a few pages with pictures, and she's itemised everything that you requested, but it needs certainly a lot of work through it,
Okay.
and have a look at it at the work session on the 12th.
So you're going to put it in our box?
Yes, I am. I'll do it tomorrow, yes. Yeah.
Did Steve get a copy?
Yes, I forwarded it to by GP. Yeah.
Haven't yet had a chance to look at it, but I did get,
I had
I
it,
saw it in
yeah,
here.
I had a cursory glance and some big numbers in there. Yeah.
Okay.
But at least she's met our requirements. So, sure.
Anything else under old business?
No.
I have one thing under old business. I did a few phone calls from people. We were talking about the sand. People had been stealing it, and people had been filling up truckloads and using it to sand driveways. And the board had talked about, with Tim's suggestion, had talked about moving it down to the transfer station. I got quite a few calls from people that say they work and they don't get back into Ashland until after 4 o'clock. And even though they could pick up sand on Saturday, they said if we have like 2 or 3 snowstorms, that they are unable to get enough sand. So they were wondering if we could somehow think about those people that came in late. And a couple of them said, would the suggestion would be to maybe have a sign up that says, you know, if you don't go by the rules, that you will be fined, or maybe like a $150 fine or something. But I'm just bringing this in front of the board. One person I saw at the store, a couple people called me, so I'm just bringing this up so the board can think about it and consider it and see if there's anything we can do. You heard that, right, Jean? What I said? Okay.
Yeah, I had,
Okay.
Gwen's got a comment.
You know, I think, you know, unless we get it in a secure area, they can continue to deal with it. And unfortunately, in life, a few people ruin it for everybody else. You know, and that's, you know, there's a lot of money being taken away from there that the town taxpayers, everybody's paying for. And it's got to be secured somehow. And if that means, you know, you got to plan a little bit ahead, then you got to plan a little bit ahead. I mean, you know the snowstorms come in, and, you know, we are open down there enough hours that at some point you can get a bucket or two and be prepared for it. You know, it may require a little more planning ahead than currently when you walk out and there's no sand, and then you say, oh, well, I need sand to drive down. But obviously, through the years, we've already proven that program doesn't work.
Yeah?
Yeah, I agree, but I think opening up Pandora's box when you do a transfer station, because, you know, there may be a few people that won't be able to get in there, but you're going to change the whole thing around because of some people can't get in there. My personal opinion is that you can leave it like it is and put up a sign and try to enforce it and enforce it hard. We have ordinances for that, and if it's a $150 fine, then write out a summons for this person to go to court and recommend $150 or $200 fine, whatever it is, and really enforce the ordinance or whatever it is. And I think if that happens, it won't be long before there'll be a turnaround with people not going there, they don't belong, that are not a resident. That's my personal opinion.
I kind of feel that way too, Danny. I kind of feel that it should stay where it is. I just think it's sad that with anything, a few people ruin it for everybody else. But I think we should leave it where it is and, you know, just try to be stricter and try to enforce everything, so. But we don't have to really make a decision tonight. We can talk about that as a work session too. I just had told the people that I would bring it up to the rest of the select
Mr.
board,
is
so.
mostly over.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Anybody else have any old business? Anybody have new business? When are you going to bring those on the select board?
And the select board
Okay.
items, if that's all right with you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Town administrators report?
A letter was written by the town administrator to the office of Congressman Bass asking him to explore the issue at the federal level of the sediment build-up in the Squam River, which is causing concerns to residents along River Street. It is hoped that the Army Corps of Engineers will come to Ashland to view the situation. The union and non-union employees of the town listened to a presentation on February the 22nd given by a representative from School Care regarding an alternative health insurance plan to our incumbent LGC, which we now know wasn't successful. At the July 4th committee meeting held on February 23rd in the Common Man, it was decided to ask Mark Ober to be the Grand Marshal in this year's parade, and the town administrator wrote to Mark accordingly. It is anticipated that the Public Works Department will lead the parade in the one-ton one-ton truck pulling the snowplow. really looked at Tim. Candidates Night was well attended with 27 residents in the audience and 11 of the 17 candidates showing up. The event will be is being aired on Channel 20 until the day before the election. Show times were announced in the Ashland Bulletin. The second session for website training lessons for members of boards and committees took place on February 28th, and the third session for department heads was held earlier this afternoon here at the school. The HEAL letters, healthy eating and active living, and other documentation for the town's grant application was delivered to Spear on March the 2nd. The response from the multi-sector community coalition was exceptional, and hopefully with all the good input received, we should be awarded this grant. The announcement will be forthcoming on April the 17th. On March the 2nd, the town office received a visit from Paddy Beak, Deborah Clayton and Laura Cole of LGC to review all the lines of insurance with the town administrator and Pat Kroll. They were aware that the selectmen were going to make a decision tonight. The negative press the organisation has been receiving lately has quelled due to the fact that LGC has taken corrective action internally. The audit of Buskey's Auto, scheduled for March the 2nd, to be conducted by the chairman of the board and the town administrator, was in fact carried out this morning.
Okay, department head reports. Chief Randall?
February monthly report for the Ashland Police Department. The month of February has been a little quieter than prior months as far as new cases for the police department. I hate to say that it's been quiet because as soon as you say that, then all of a sudden it goes. But it was a little quieter as far as the number of calls coming in. The department has made another arrest in the library case, which we believe is the final criminal to be apprehended. Unless through the prosecution part of it, something else comes out and implicates somebody else within the process. But we have made both arrests, and it's a burglary, so it'll be up in Grafton County, and just be patient with the prosecution part of it because I dealt with a burglary back in August, and we haven't gone to trial yet on it. So just everybody be patient. The prosecution will take care of it and handle it. And I will keep everybody up to date on how things are going. All of the full-time police officers of the department have completed their yearly use of force training, something that's required for us to do every year. The training is done in-house as we have department personnel that are certified to teach that block of instruction to us. So it saves us from going outside having to go somewhere to have it done. Northern Lakes Veterinary Hospital donated portable scanners to the Ashland and the Holderness police departments. The scanner is used on pets that have been chipped. This allows the police department to read an ID number from the chip in the animal and make a phone call to the animal registration center to get information to return the pet to its owner. I'd like to thank Doc Lester at the Northern Lakes Veterinary Hospital for that donation. They're about $350 for those. It's great for us because we can instantly scan the dog right at the department. We don't have to run him down to his office, and if he's not open, try to get somebody to do it. So he presented those to the Ashland Police Department and Holderness Police Departments. The police department has secured 2 grants to date. The first grant is a matching grant for a new radar unit for the SUV, and the second grant is a traffic patrol grant. The traffic patrol grant is a 100% reimbursable grant for officers to do special patrols beyond their scheduled work time in an effort to curb some of the traffic issues in town. I'd like to thank Jamie Lightfoot for all of his efforts in securing these grants for us because he does a tremendous amount of work at the PD to get us our grants. And I'd just like to say thank you to him. So you're going to see officers out there. They work these patrols when they're not scheduled to work their regular patrol, and you'll see the police cruisers out there a little more visible. Okay, hopefully we can cut down on some of the speeding that's going on in town. I hear people complaining about it all the time. People are driving too fast. This is going to help us be a little more visible out there. So, the total number of incidents, arrests, warrants, traffic citation, and warnings for February was 114, which is 36 less than January. The department continues to do follow-up on ongoing investigations. One of the things that I'll point out is our arrests this month. We had 11 arrests, which is a lot of arrests for the 1 month. But for some reason, those seem to be up. But some of the other incident calls that we go to are down for some reason. But that's quite a few arrests in 1 month. I would like to thank Bill Tyrone for his 40 years of service to the Ashland School. The school and the police department work together on many issues, and I hope that once Bill is gone, that the relationship continues. Bill and I worked very closely together. The school normally takes care of a lot of their own in-house stuff when it comes to reprimanding children and taking care of that portion of it, so it doesn't become a burden to the police department with the juvenile stuff. And we consult back and forth about how to handle certain situations when they do arise. I just hope that the next person that they get, we can still have that same type of relationship. As always, I remind people to lock their vehicles in order to limit thefts, as most car break-ins are crimes of opportunity, and I encourage the public to notify the police department of any suspicious activity as soon as you see it. Thank you.
GP, Fire Department?
February was a average month for us. We had 29 calls for emergency service. 20 of those were medical calls. Of the fire incidents we had, most of them were fire alarm activations. One was actually for a fire at Freudenberg. A small fire broke out in one of the machines, and sprinklers once again rose to the occasion and put the fire out before Ashland units got there. So sprinklers paid off again. Regular department training for the month was centered around ice rescue. This is the season where we start to get ice breaking up and so forth. So we did a classroom session on the first Tuesday of the month, and then we followed that on Valentine's Day, no less, by actually going into the water out at the town beach for ice actual field training on the 14th. Medical training this month was trauma assessment and spinal stabilization. We created several scenarios. You know, we never find people lying perfectly straight with these issues, and so we put them in odd places and then challenge people to come up with solutions to, safely extricate the people while maintaining spinal stabilization. This month, tomorrow evening, we're training with hose line advancement, and following that next Tuesday with ladder company operations. EMS training this month will be diabetic emergencies. SPEAR is also offering a training this month, a District A5 training on dealing with morbidly obese people. It's an area, a concern in the area regionally, and they've got some experts coming in to talk about that, the difficulties encountered with those patients. Firefighter Eric Potter has completed his level 1 certification process. A long trip that was for him, but he stayed with it and did a great job. Newly hired firefighter Dale Larry is continuing his EMT course. And Tanya Austin, who's been with us since August, has recently signed up for an advanced EMT course. She's currently a basic, and she's signed up for an advanced course which begins in May. We recently hired another firefighter. Ingrid Heidenreich has, her last voluntary act for the fire was actually coming through the door now with their expectations. So she's going to work with our EMS group, and she's awaiting the start of a class, and she brings with her a little bit of experience with CERT and MRC. So, and she's signed up for a course on radiological monitoring, which starts tomorrow night. And again, I said in my report, at the time I wrote it, we were awaiting word from the structural engineer on the roof, and I haven't yet had a chance to review that, but I'm sure that'll be interesting. We have repaired the issues with the heating system at the department, I believe. We're still looking into ways to improve the circulation of heat from the boilers up to the apparatus floor. Seems to be the greatest area of concern right now. This past fall, a gentleman named Carl Berardi from New Hampshire Resource Conservation and Development Council conducted a survey on water resources in the town. This was funded by a grant from New Hampshire Rural Fire Protection Initiative. He presented his initial findings to the department officers in January, and he's made several subsequent visits to town, and he's completing his report and awaiting that sometime in the spring. This will be very useful to us in making long-term decisions, short-term and long-term decisions for planning and water access purposes. On a final note, the Firefighters Association is holding their annual rabies clinic coming up March 31st. Any pet owners? I'm not sure what time that starts.
9 to 12:30.
9 to 12:30.
$10.50 a shot.
Okay. And that's being done too by Don Lester, Dr. Lester of Northern Lakes Veterinary. Just a lot of voluntary work for us in the town.
Thank you, Steve. Public Works Director, Tim Puckett.
February was kind of a quiet month, which was good for us. We hauled 60 ton of sand compared to the 450 ton we saw hauled in January. We continued with that transfer station work, hauling off the brush pile, baling of the recyclables, hauling the scrap metal, stuff the guys that work down there 20 hours a week can't get to. Coal patching our roads where the potholes pop up. Roadside brush with the heavy winds or heavy snow, a lot of pine limbs come down, so we have to constantly keep an eye on that. We set up and took down for the deliberative session. That's one of our duties we do for any voting set up. Some of you may have seen we've put our load limit signs out for the year. That was effective March 1st. They'll be out until further notice. If anybody has something that's going on in a road that's posted, give me a call. If it's done first thing in the morning as far as moving equipment in, we do allow it because the roads are still cold and frozen in the morning. But as it goes on later on, then we won't allow that, in the next couple weeks. So just keep an eye out for that. Anybody that walked up and down Main Street noticed on the Legion side all the way up to the Common store, there's quite a bit of ice along the curb. We were able to peel that up with the warmer temperatures, so we got that out of the way. It wasn't as much of a hazard. We only had 4 events in February, which was good as far as plowing, sanding, salting. So we only had to haul Main Street snow once. Had an issue with the dumpster over the beach. I noticed one day it was quite full. Unfortunately, we have a contract with Waste Management until November, so we can't take that dumpster out of there. People just see it over there and they throw whatever they want in there. It's supposed to be for campground use, but because we didn't have the snow and that parking lot was all open all winter long, that they were able to just drive in there and dispose of their trash. So hopefully we can remedy that in the fall. The brush we haul up from the transfer station, we bring down behind the sewer plant. We are able to burn that, so we did that this month. With the lack of snow and the cold temperatures and the amount of rain, when there's no snow, the culverts don't get any insulation, so they tend to freeze up when we have cold temperatures. We did have one on Albrook Road that we had to thaw out. If anybody's seen us out, it is quite a procedure. We have to hook up a water tank, a generator, bring our steam cleaner. It takes longer to set the whole thing up than it does actually to clean the culvert out, so we did that. Transfer station, we hauled just under 5 ton of glass again this month. That saved us about $320. It didn't go into the hopper, the trash hopper. Hauled a load of tin cans, a little over a ton. Another bale of aluminum cans this past month. It was 360 pounds, got us about $200. And scrap metal, that's our, wire, brass, copper, whatever. We had 318 pounds of that we brought in last month, and we took a little over $230 for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Tim. Park and Rec Director, Jim Bright.
The month of February was slow for the Park and Rec Department. For the public programs, we did run the Kids Night Out program. We were able to run it successfully. Our next Kids Night Out will be Friday, March 23rd. We're continuing to run the community sharing and learning programs, and we've made one addition due to popular request. On Thursday nights from 6 to 7 p.m., we're going to be offering country line dancing. We've been able to have it on Monday mornings. The instructor has agreed to run it on Thursday evening. And these classes are all subject to change based on community interest and if they want to see a program continue extending hours or adding additional classes. The after-school program, the kids were enjoying the sledding during the beginning of the month, but once the warmer weathers hit, the fields got awfully soggy, and it was some pretty tough time out there, especially at the playground area, trying to reduce risk by keeping the kids off the ice and off the apparatuses. When the snow did return and the temperatures did drop, it was during the February vacation. We were not able to run the vacation day camp this past vacation, but it did free up the time to get the majority of the summer camp field trips, transportation, and paperwork caught up. And my thanks to the Public Works Department for keeping the walkways, the ramp, and everything at the Booster Club in great shape during the snow times. Thank you.
Thank you, Jim. Health and Welfare Director, do you have a report for him?
No, Mr. Hicks is ill today, and he cannot supply us with anything.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Did Linda stay?
Yeah, she's over here.
Do you have a report for us, Linda, as treasurer?
After the payouts this week of $152,653, we'll have $529,774 left, 38 cents.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Okay, select board items, Paul?
First of all, Madam Chairman, I think we should look at the Busky, into the Busky audit today, and have that signed.
Paul and I went down today and did the inspection down there. That has to be done in March, so we went down today and got it done. So.
A good point to note is that the majority of the exposure that we had a year ago is now down in the warehouse
So it's inside.
on Winter Street. So that's the tyres, the batteries, that
Dismantling.
all of the auto recycling that was there is now moved, and it's.
There wasn't really much down there.
There wasn't very much. Okay, was it?
Yeah?
Thank you.
And what is this?
This is the Pemmy Baker appointment for Tim Porquette. And when Tim's not available, then I have to fill in for him for Pemmy Baker Solid Waste District, as Mark Over did during his tenure.
I got the little sticky tonight.
Yeah. You know where to sign.
Yeah. There's an abatement request for the town of Ashland, and it's from, I'm sure I'm going to pronounce it wrong, David DeZiglio,
I believe that's right.
218 River Street, Ashland, and the original assessment is $167,300. The value is $144,050, so the difference is $23,250, and it's recommended by the assessor. Do you guys want to look at this before we vote on it? Did you already look at it yet? Did you already get a chance?
I did, but I'd like to go over it again.
You're welcome. I'll make a motion to accept the abatement request for $144,050 for David DeZiglio. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye, motion carries.
On the second page, so. Wait,
There's no sticky. What's a sticky?
I'm sorry. Oh, no,
Yeah. Should we sign it?
I'll stick it to you.
That's right. We're addicted to it.
You want to correct the date?
Hmm?
You want to correct the date?
Yeah, I will. Thank you, Glenn.
Yep.
I still put February instead of March.
You're still behind the times.
Huh?
Still behind the times.
What can I say? Do you have anything else, Paul?
No, that's, unless, Patsy has anything?
Okay, Glenn, Danny, do you have anything?
I don't have anything, no.
Paul, were Alice and them going to be on the agenda, or were they going to go with public comments and concerns?
They're going to go with public comments and concerns, yes. All four of them, actually.
I'll second.
Okay, public comments and concerns. Alice?
Hi, I am here, my name is Alice Staples. I'm here representing the board of the Ashland Town Library and the Ashland Town Library. You should be in receipt of some correspondence between the fire department and the Scribner trustees and the library trustees regarding the fire department safety inspection that was done in the fall. So we've been working through the fall and this year to try and comply with the safety code. So basically the issue of the letter that you probably received today is access to the upper floor of the building. The Scribners have given notice that they will lock the upstairs beginning April 7th because they feel that they cannot comply with what they believe to be what has been required of them by the fire department. So we're just coming to make that knowledge, give that knowledge to you in hopes of getting some help from the town in dealing with the Scribners and making this all work for the use of that building as the library, which has been designated by the town.
Alice, what do you use the upstairs room for?
There are collections up there. We use those for meetings, reading group, office space.
So it would be used
To use different daily, yeah.
Yeah.
We really wouldn't be able to run the library without having the upstairs.
Madam Chairman, may I interject and say something to the board? If you remember, we were there, and Glenn participated one evening, so we've been to two meetings separately and together. Patsy just raised the question, this could be something for our town attorney to talk
I'm not
about.
sure.
I think we've already sent Emma Scribner's will down to him. We sent the original letters down to him. I think that the library trustees also, correct me if I'm wrong, Alice, but contacted the town attorney. Am I right, or did you seek legal counsel?
Not on this issue and
No, on this-
not this time around.
Oh, okay.
This happened before.
It seems to fall through the cracks every time. You know, who owns the building, who owns the land, who's in charge out the outside, and who's in charge of the contents.
That would be my concern. I don't know as a board if we can actually do anything. But I think it would be a good idea to put it through legal to find out. It seems to me like if they're in charge of the inside of the building, I'm not too sure what we can do, but we can certainly, talk about it as a board at the work session.
I would ask one of the members of the Board of Selectmen to attend the meeting at 7 o'clock on March the 12th, as you did before.
I won't be able to.
Well,
So you'll be going?
I don't know why we have to send it to legal. I mean, it's spelled out. The town owns the property, and the town owns the building. However, the scriveners are in charge of the property and in charge of the building. They have final say over it. That's what all the documents say. That's what the legal stuff is. That's what the will says. That's what the first time that we went through this is. They have the final say. That's what that will says. The town of Ashland owns it. Unfortunately, the way the will is set up, the scriveners have the final say on the vote. The solution is vote in new scriveners. Have people run against the scriveners and get new trustees that will do a job that probably the taxpayers are expecting them to do. And that's do a better job than what they're doing and saying no all the time. Their job is not, in my opinion, to take that money and make as much money as possible. Their job was to put and take care of that property and have it for community use. The community use that was granted by the courts was the library. And every time we turn around, they're fighting it and stopping and trying to make it difficult for the library to be in there. And if that's the case, we need new trustees that will work with the library trustees and get new scrivener trustees. I think the solution is not to spend more money on legal. I think the solution is find some candidates and run against the scrivener trustees. I mean, that's my personal opinion, but we already spent 7, 8 years ago thousands of dollars on both sides of the equation, and we're right back where we are. The solution is not going to be legal. We're just going to waste a lot of taxpayer money, a lot of scrivener money, and a lot of library trustee money. I think the solution ultimately is candidates and new trustees. That's just my personal opinion, but I think that's your solution.
Glenn, I agree there. The problem is, there's an immediate problem now. And I think the reason, if this is how I feel, I think you came here tonight to see if there is anything that we could help with, or any way that we could, maybe talk with the trustees, or see if we can come up with a solution. I see what Glenn's saying, because if they're not going to be doing their job, then yes, you need to vote a new one, but that doesn't solve the immediate problem that we have. Is that correct?
Yes.
I don't think you're going to solve the immediate problem. I mean, we were at the meeting, and before that meeting even started, they'd already made up their minds. I mean, that was the gist I got from the body language and the conversation of that meeting.
Well, the things we plan to bring up, there is a solution that is probably not cost prohibitive in putting 3 to 4 sprinklers, I believe, kind of in the stairwell. So we are offering to pay for that from library funds, since the scriveners say they can't afford to do that. Another thing that I'd like to talk to them about is this April 7th deadline. The fire department did not give us any hard and fast deadlines. They said this work just kind of needs to be done, and both boards are working on some other projects, so that's an arbitrary date that the scriveners have to come up with as April 7th of 2012. So I'm hoping when we talk to them, we can get them at least to say they're not going to do that on April 7th. They're not going to lock the doors on April 7th.
Do you have an agreement with the trustees that if you put the 3 or 4 sprinklers in the stairwell, will they be willing to open that room up again?
Well, that's what we will find out on Monday.
Okay, so you haven't talked to them about that?
No, we have mentioned it to them in correspondence, and then this is the letter that we got from
This
them.
letter arrived on Saturday, so.
Very reluctantly. I did not do the inspection. I passed it on to Deputy Joubert for obvious reasons. My wife's on the library trustees. But I am familiar with it. I attended the meetings. I believe you were at that meeting. We offered, after the inspection, we cited the areas of concern, and I believe we work in good faith to come to remedies. It's not the fire department's position to tell a building owner or manager what they must do in order to, what choice they must make. There are choices. The issue of the second floor revolves around public meetings up there and concern about a second means of egress. So any agreement that was, I guess, worked out would be between the fire department and other parties. And I believe Tim had stated that we would, if that stairway were sprinkled, then that would ensure that it stayed viable long enough to get people out of that building. So they had options. They could put in a full-blown commercial sprinkler system throughout the building. That's an option. It seems like a ridiculous one, but that was a choice they could have made. The other one was some residential sprinkler heads in the stairway. Okay. The other one was close the upstairs. They have chosen to close the upstairs. As regardless of what we as a fire department may feel about that choice, it's again their choice. There were options. I say this, I'm speaking because I feel too, in correspondence we've received, and you may read it, it's sort of painting us to be the bad guys. And, okay, we're thick-skinned and we're not going to respond to that, but by the same token, I just want people to understand how this really goes
During
down.
the meeting, I thought Tim Huber came up with, he talked about 2 sprinkler heads to cover that stairwell. And because it's under 6, it's not a full-blown system, and it could actually be installed by a plumber. So we're not talking a high-dollar system with a lot of coverage monthly and down the road. It's a pretty easy maintained system as well. A couple sprinkler heads in the side of the wall to cover that stairwell would be pretty inexpensive and not terrible looking. And I thought that was a pretty reasonable, low-cost solution too. So I thought, that was a very good solution from the fire department that obviously has been turned down.
Alice, excuse me, you said that you offered to put the sprinklers in to the Scrivener people.
We plan to bring that to them on Monday. I think I have said that in an email perhaps,
Okay.
that's one of the things we would like to discuss with them.
So I think all in all, we'd have to wait to find out if they will accept that or not.
Right.
Before anyone can do anything, is that correct? Would you say?
I would say that's correct.
Yeah.
What we're hoping is to get some support to come with us to the
They
meeting.
where do they meet? They meet in a separate
They meet
room?
the first Monday, second Monday of the month.
In the upstairs area where they're now closing off. So
What day?
Or they meet where they want to.
I'll be there.
close it.
I think all of us should
What
be
time
there.
is it?
I think all of us should be there. 7 p.m.
7 o'clock.
So they meet where they want to roll it up, right?
Right, and they don't make any indication of their letter whether they don't plan to meet there anymore. So I'm not quite sure.
Where they're going to move their meetings.
Right.
It doesn't say in that letter, it says they'll go to the meeting. You can go to the second floor escorted by a Scrivener trustee.
Right, but they can't have a meeting up there because that's a public meeting.
True.
So it'd be a violation of
The Scrivener meeting.
their own statement.
I think Chief Heath alluded to it, that once it's closed.
Are you going to be meeting there?
Yeah, you go.
I'm not going. Brennan, I'll go Monday night. Danny's going to be gone. He'll be away on vacation.
I'll be gone, but my spirit will be with me.
Thank you. We will invoke that spirit.
The primary trustee, believe me.
I also think this is a good time to just sort of, bring up in a public forum that we're outgrowing the space. The library has been outgrowing the space for many years, so something, I realize the town is financially strapped, but something to think about in the long run is a expanded library or another new library somewhere.
Okay, thank you, Alice.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other comments or concerns, Annie?
Yeah, I'd like to stop on the sand that's being taken. You're losing a lot of sand, and most of it's at nighttime, I can tell you that. I'm out there plowing, and I see trucks in there all the time. And, you know, we squawked a little while ago. I don't like to bring up old things, but for a little gravel that was taken out of the town yard down there. And here we are losing thousands of dollars. Because you got a mixture of salt and sand, and that's a lot of money. And you keep on letting it allow to be done. It's gonna cost you a lot more, especially for the winter weather you've had this year, where they had to use quite a bit more salt and sand.
So you call the police when you see them?
Anybody? Thank you, Annie.
Well, you gotta get that
Sherry,
number and
put your hand up.
everything. Not much light down there, I'll tell you that.
Sherry?
Well, I had a question. Since I'm running for town clerk and tax collector, who programs the machine during the elections?
Isn't it, yeah, it's like by the state?
State programs it,
Well, we,
the company actually programs it.
LHS,
LHS programs it, and the town moderator tests it.
All right, cool, thank you.
it was tested today.
It was tested today.
Cool.
Sherry, were you gonna do that drawing tonight?
No, April 2nd.
Oh, okay.
April 2nd, you can still get, the quilt is on display at Bob Sherfine.
Bob Sherfine, you
can
get
buy
the tickets at
Ash to Value.
Okay, thank you. Bobby?
Mine's kind of a follow-up to Sherry's. I wondered if the Board of Selectmen had made arrangements for receiving the upcoming election ballots in Town Hall prior to the election, and also for Town Moderator, Town Clerk, and Selectmen coverage at next Tuesday's election.
It's all taken care of.
Yep.
Well, so the answer to Sherry was the Town Moderator's going to be at that. The Town Moderator can't be on there. He's on the ballot for another position. So technically speaking, he can't.
He can still be inside here.
No, he can't.
Legally, he can.
No, he can't.
But he's not,
What's that?
That's not true.
he
He is on the ballot as school moderator,
It doesn't matter. He
and
can't.
he's on the ballot as school moderator. And as school moderator, it's part of the moderator position. He could, if he so chooses, to work that day.
Just
And
like any,
also-
just like any selectman, if they're running, can choose to work also. That is the exception in the state law.
Unless you're an elected official, like David Rule, he's usually a ballot clerk, okay? He cannot be a ballot clerk this time because he is running for an office on the ballot, other than, well, ballot clerk's not on it. But he is on the ballot, on the ballot for a budget committee. He cannot work the polls that day.
Danny?
If you can, Bobby, if you can show us the RSA on that where the moderator can't, we'd be glad to take a look at it.
Cheryl?
Correct me if I'm wrong, though, isn't he a write-in? He's going to be a write-in. Correct me if I'm wrong, because there's a lot of scuttlebutt out there, and maybe Phil can even answer this himself. Because if you're a write-in, how can you be in there?
Well, the law clearly states that election officials can work the poll. Same thing is true of the town clerk, it's true of the town moderator. Those happen to be the only positions for which that applies. But it's crystal clear in the RSA.
It's not a writing for school moderator, he's on the ballot for school moderator.
Right, but Dan, what I'm saying is, he's going to be a write-in for a town selectman. And is that okay for him to stand at that box and watch all of those ballots go in?
You want my opinion?
Yeah, I do.
I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't know.
I don't.
That's why I asked Bobby if he could show me If she could show me the RSA, then I will believe it. Okay, you can't just say, well, Joe Blow said that he can't do this because he can't do this. The law says you can't do this. Show me the RSA that says he can't do it, and I will do something about it. Period. Simple as that.
Sandra?
I'd stand, but I have a little bit of a problem. I, for one, strongly object whether, I mean, you're saying that it's up to us to find the RSA, but we're saying to you, you know, that it's up to you to prove that we're wrong. I mean, I had a problem last year, and I don't want to go through that again this year, and I am on the ballot. If there are people in there that are on the ballot, they should not be near that machine. If I understand it correctly, when I was on the ballot, I had to stay within a confined area. It was either roped or and we had to sit there. I do. I object for a moderator being there, the town clerk being there, the town clerk handling the ballots when she is on the ballot. And I have nothing against Patsy, I'm just saying position, not people.
Do you have your little thing so we can look up the RSA?
And if Phil Preston,
She's got her little...
I don't know it by heart, so I'd
like to finish my statement. If Phil Preston is a write-in for a position for selectman, he should not be there. Especially at the voting machine, when ballots are going to be put into the machine. I object.
I agree.
Sandy, when you were select person, and I filled in as moderator for Phil one year, you were probably 3 feet from the machine as working as a selectman. Now you're saying you can't be?
No, I'm not. I wasn't on the ballot. I'm saying anyone who is on the ballot that is running for a position,
Okay.
like town clerk, selectman, they should be nowhere near that voting machine and have nothing to do with the ballots.
Somebody got an RSA?
Looking it up now.
I have another question. Regarding the chairperson for the union. Is there something specifically stated as being the steward for the union, that they have to live in the town that they are the steward for? No.
I don't know.
So he could
on
live
that
in
one.
Timbuktu, or she could live in Timbuktu, but as long as she worked in he or she worked in the town.
I believe
that
that's what
they,
it means.
As long as they were voted by the union to be their shop steward. Doesn't matter where you live, it has nothing to do with that.
okay.
Sandra?
I know that none of you were there last year during the counting, but, and then afterwards when I asked for a recount. But on the night of recount, and Bill Preston was there, I believe Patsy was not, and I think Avia? Yes, she was there. And I believe phone calls were made back and forth, and I think several phone calls were made to Patsy. But ballots were taken out of, I believe, a briefcase and put on the table and put in for counting, and that was by Phil Preston. I do not want that to happen again this year.
There were 17 of them missing.
Yeah. But they were never taken out of the briefcase.
I saw Phil take them out, and it was out of Patsy's.
Anything else?
Any other question? Tim?
There was one bit of information I forgot to mention during my report. Was that you're familiar with the Hope It Floats program that had concluded a few years, last year or the year before. as part of that, a canoe was donated. An Old Town 17-foot canoe was donated with broken seats. And we had remade the seats, but they weren't caned. Lee Sharps donated her time, and she dropped the last one off today, so we can finish up that one Old Town canoe. So I just wanted to thank Lee for her time and her dedication, because I know it took a long time to get that stuff done. And it was nice to see the work, and the seats look great. So now we just get them installed, and we have another one. So Lee.
Thank you, Lee. Nice job, Lee. Okay, are there any other questions, Ingrid?
While he's looking that up, first of all, I'd like to thank all the candidates and the members of the public that came to Candidates Night last Monday night. It'd be nice to have a bigger showing, because this is a very important time in this town. And the more candidates that we have, whether they're running unopposed, whether they've been running for years and have held the same position for years, is irregardless. Come and introduce yourself to the public. That is the concept of Candidates Night. Put your platform out there. So again, thank you to all the candidates that came, and thank you to all the residents that came, and good luck to all the candidates. On another note, I'm in complete agreement with Mr. Parquette over here over the sand. Should be down at the transfer station, because we're losing too much money with that going out the door. My third point, yes, I have to keep all track of all these. Brain's not that big.
Slow down.
Yeah, I know.
Take a breath.
Finally, last year we went through this exact same debate over the election, with going from a 5-member board down to a 3-member board, and people being within the gym, people not being allowed within the gym. Last year I was on the ballot, this year I am not. But last year I thought was handled in a very appropriate fashion, in the sense that anyone on the ballot was not to be in the gym handling a ballot, dealing with the ballot machine, or anything in regards to ballots and voting. They could be within that chained-in area. It may not be law, and Phil is still looking that up on my iPad, because I can't find it. But I don't know where I'm looking, so there you go. But, ethically, it is not appropriate for someone who is on that ballot to be handling a ballot. Whether it is legal or not, it is not ethical. So therefore, in my opinion, and I'm just, a town resident with voting rights, those of you who are running and who are on the ballot, whether you are sitting in the audience or sitting up at those 2 tables or standing out in the hallway, don't go in there. Hand your position over to someone else. Be courteous. Have that ethical responsibility. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions, Fran?
I would just like to thank Ingrid and Steve for the work that they did for Candidates Night, the Coalition for Action. Thank you very much. For those of us that were there, it was a challenge, but it was a very exciting time, and I know they put a lot of hard work into planning that evening, and I thank them and everybody else who contributed, baked goods and whatever else.
And at the end of the night, I went over to Ingrid and told her what a good job she did, and Steve, so you did do a good job. It went very smoothly. I thought it was a good night. So. Patsy?
I would just like to state that the ballots have been received, they've been counted. Linda Dyack, Phil Preston, and I did count them. We are obligated to count them. We can handle unmarked ballots. On election in the evening, if I chose to work during the day, I cannot, as soon as that ballot closed, I am back behind the chain. And A. Bear and whoever is moderator, whether it's Phil or whether there's a moderator pro tem, takes over the counting of the ballot with the team that was assembled.
Ingrid?
Sorry, I have one more. I would also like to thank Chief Heath and the other members of the fire department for giving me the opportunity to join the fire department. I look forward to my non-voluntary efforts now. Phil?
I just wanted to say that all the years that I've been moderator, I don't believe a candidate on the ballot has ever counted the ballot on which they're on. If they're on the school committee ballot, they can count the town ballot, and vice versa. But in my recollection, nobody has ever counted a ballot on which their name appears.
I'll agree with Phil. My years of town moderator, somebody was on a ballot, they didn't count those ballots.
Sandra?
I'll agree with Phil and
Wow.
I know.
Mine were
Something I don't know. I know. But after what Patsy said, I am formally going to say that I object to the 3 people that handled those ballots today, and they're all on the ballot. I think that's morally, ethically, I think that's wrong. If you can't find an RSA, I think that is ethically wrong.
So you're saying it's ethically wrong and morally wrong, and what you're telling these people, they're dishonest.
I did not say that, Dan.
Well, what are you saying? You're saying it's not ethical, it's not moral, therefore these people cannot be trusted.
That's
Dan,
How many people have trusted them to
Dan,
vote them in? Don't tell me Dan. That's what you're saying.
No, it isn't.
Well, I don't care what you say.
Then I will
That's what you're
address the
saying.
chair.
Sandra?
You've been bitter too many years.
I am saying that it's not the person, it's the position. And it's those people that are on the ballot. I'm not saying I wouldn't trust Patsy or I wouldn't trust Phil. I'm saying it's the position and not the person. And I'd like to make that very clear. And I'd like to go on to something else.
Thank you.
May I?
Do you have another thing you want to bring up?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, please.
I would like to ask you on candidates night, and this has to do with the negotiating team, and whether or not you have asked for the negotiating team to meet prior to the end of, this year and before the new board comes in.
I haven't, because it depends on how the towns vote on the 13th. The union, state union rep has sent the contract to me and the tentative changes that we made. And some of those changes, we can't figure out where they came from, but we have not had a meeting yet, no. And I think probably what we'll do, we'll wait to see if it's approved, then we'll have the meeting and we'll make the corrections. So we're waiting to see what happens with the warrant article.
Are you talking about the warrant article,
Yes.
whether or not that passes?
Yes.
Well, there are 2 parts to the contract. If you sign a contract and all the people that need to sign the contract and date the contract, part of that contract is of that date when you sign it.
That's
and
a
then it goes into effect.
That does not go
April
into
1st.
effect until they vote on it. The townspeople have to vote on it
They
for the
only
union
vote-
contract to go into effect.
I believe they only vote on cost items.
No, they vote on the contract.
If the warrant article fails, the whole contract fails.
Thank you.
Is it not true that the warrant article is only for cost items?
Only for
Cost-
wages, not cost items, wages only. That's all it's ever been, is wages. Cost items like uniforms and whatever else are included in each department's budget.
But if the wages fail, then the whole contract fails, and I have to renegotiate the whole thing. If the wages fail, you don't get everything else but the wages. If the wages fail, if the contract fails, then the entire contract fails, not just, you don't just fail the wages. If by failure of the wages is what we're basically voting on, we will also fail the whole contract.
Right.
The healthcare.
And then you start over all
negotiations,
over
you
again.
start all over again
Right.
from
If
zero.
I'm not correct, RSA 273A1 states, and I think it's number 4 that will state that it's cost items on the, all right.
Sandra,
Then I will,
I did the prior 2 contracts to this one. I started with this one, but we started the union in 1999. The first 2 contracts that we did, the wages are the only thing that gets voted on. It's the warrant article, it's the wage scale.
273. All right.
Cost items are not included. Cost items are in my budget, they're in Lee's budget, they're in the water and sewer budget.
It's the same thing with the teachers. When you vote on the teachers, you're voting just their pay scale, the step increases. You're not voting their cost items. You know, you're not
So the
pencils and
insurance.
paper
I think it includes
insurance.
their benefits, though, is that correct, Tim?
When it says benefits in the
Social
warrant,
Security.
your social security, your FICA, all that,
Right.
that's considered a benefit.
Right.
That's so, and I think that's where people get confused when they hear benefit. They think of insurance, you know, whatever else, uniforms. It's not, a benefit is the withholding, the state retirement. That's all the benefit. It all goes hand in hand with the wages.
Phil?
I just want to hit the backspace key, man. Patsy and I were elected 2 years ago to do a job, to do 2 jobs. And I can say, in all honesty, that we have faithfully and impartially discharged and performed the duties of our respective positions. And in accounting of those ballots, we did it professionally and with a high degree of integrity.
Thank you, Phil. Are there any other comments or concerns? Okay, there being no other comments and concerns, I'll make a motion to adjourn the meeting at 8:10. Is there a second? The motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned.